Hey, this is Dave at Dagryffyn Hobby. Today I'm hopefully getting this FM Trainmaster back together. I've got this one motor that I'm going to work on cleaning. You see there's a lot of old lubricant just kind of stuck to it at this point, across the face as well. So I'm just going to take it all apart and clean it up and get it working better. Take out those two screws and you should be able to lift off the brush plate as long as there's enough length to this wire. You can also just unsolder that. I just don't have my soldering iron at the moment. Flip it back over, turn it so that you can get a screwdriver in this clip and just wiggle and pry and pop it off. Then it should pull out. If it doesn't, you can carefully work on prying up the thrust washer. Hopefully. I like to just apply a light, even pressure and spin the armature so that I just slowly work the top washer off. And then usually it will move. So if you pull the armature most of the way out, then push it back, it should give you these two other pieces. It's another washer and then the bearing. And then you should be able to just pull that out. There's another thrust washer on this side. We're missing one of the washers, so that's right here. Just take that off, put it there for now. So what we're going to do is we're going to clean up everything, just make it a little nicer looking, and we're also going to clean out in here so that the armature shaft will spin better when we put it back together. I just use the paper towel and push it into the grooves with my thumbnail, and then just keep doing it until it looks clean. As you can see, I'm getting a lot of old lubricant out of there. One spot that would be very easy to overlook is the underside of these bearings. They were completely caked with dirt and old lubricant, so that's a spot that you might not think to clean, but it's definitely going to be worthwhile to do so. So you definitely want to use a little lubricant when putting these back together. You want to make sure that everything's going to move as freely as possible. So you put one of the washers on, you put the bearing on, you put the other washer on. Make sure they're all sitting properly. Then insert it into motor housing. Give it a spin or two, make sure it feels like it's spinning freely and not binding on anything. That definitely feels like there's very little resistance, so I'm happy about that. Washer, bearing, and washer. And make sure they all sit properly. Lubricant into the bearing there. We take the clip, and snap that back into place. And again, give it some spin, see what it feels like. Oil for the top of the armature shaft. It doesn't actually go here, it goes here. There's a bit of a wick under here. I was curious how much it would hold, so I put too much in there. So a few drops, run the engine, put a few drops on again later, but don't overdo it. As you put the brushes in, make sure they move freely and that the springs are pushing with relative equal pressure. You can hold it upside down so they don't pop out, and put the motor in. Flip it back over, sure the springs are sitting in the brush grooves. And put the screws in. Snug and tight, but not too tight. I'll do this to the other motor, and then we'll get back towards getting this engine back on the rails. The insulator down, the roller. So there's an insulator on each side. There's a relatively square one on the bottom, a circle one up top. Those are extremely important. Looks good. Get that motor in place. Truck in place, put the screw in through the bottom of the truck. We'll do the same to the other truck, and I should be ready to go ahead and solder everything back together. I was reading, it may have been in the Doyle Guide to Lionel Trends, that the reason why the shelves crack at the front and rear of this engine is that frame is a little too short, or the shell is a little too long. If you look at it, it's been pulled in. So that's interesting. So I guess that's why these all crack, is because there was a miscalculation there. I've got the rollers cleaned and installed. Got the trucks cleaned and installed, the motors cleaned and installed. Now I just have to solder everything together. Everything is wired back together. These wires all ended up a nice length. They're nice and flexible. I probably should have rewired the lights. So I think it's good. I hope it's good. Let's get our test track. Moment of truth. Make sure the unit's in the right spot. Back and forth really nice, and now it's stopped. The E unit doesn't sound right. And I realized it's because I painted the frame, and I did not take into consideration the fact that it grounds through the frame. So I have to take the motors off and do a little quick sanding, and then I should be all right. So I'm just going to sand a little bit off the bottom. It would have made sense to mask that area off when I painted it, so that it would be free of paint. But this is my first time repainting a frame, and I didn't think about it. Lesson learned. Okay, so Labelle 106, so it should work pretty well in this spot. Okay, that side is hopefully good. Let's do the other one. This is how you learn. You do a project for the first time, you make mistakes, you figure it out, you correct it, and next time you do a better job, hopefully. Of course, I'm assuming that this is going to fix my issue. For a minute, once I got everything back together, I thought I had a problem with the E unit because it kept popping into neutral, but that didn't really makes sense. Why would it be popping into neutral? Loss of power. So I looked at the positive power point on the E unit, and it was good. Good connection, the wires were good, and solder was okay. Let's get the screw back in, we'll run it back out to the layout and see how it does. Okay, a couple little setbacks, let's see what happens. Oh, that's nice. So it took a little while and there were a couple of setbacks, but we got the Lackawanna 2321 working again. It's performing like new, nice and quiet, nice and smooth, and is pulling fantastically. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. And see you next time on D.A. Griffin Hobby.